Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. During a press conference today, the Law and Justice Party presented the United Right's full electoral list for all constituencies. As usual, the leader of the Law and Justice Party, Jarosław Kaczyński, will head the Warsaw list. The Prime Minister of Poland, Mateusz Morawiecki, will lead the list for the Katowice constituency. The Kukiz 15 movement's MPs also appeared on the lists. In addition, the fathers of both the Polish President and the Polish Prime Minister, Jan Duda and Kornel Morawiecki, also appear on the lists for the Polish Senate. In the wake of the recent argument between the opposition and the governing party over the flights with the code HEAD, a designation for VIPs, Michał Dworczyk of the Prime Minister's office today presented a draft law to regulate the flight arrangements for the most important people in the country. The document includes the organisation of the flights and security rules, as well as their classification, and sets out who may be on board the aircraft.
The new law presented today is a result of the recent news about the Speaker of the House using government aircraft to travel with his family, which led to his resignation from the post. According to the new regulations, only persons listed as an official member of the delegation and invited journalists will be allowed on board. No family members will be allowed unless they are also listed in an official capacity.
Chcemy wyraźnie podkreślić, że w tych lotach...
We would like to underline clearly that on official flights, family members are not allowed unless they are also listed in an official capacity. This is also the case for the families of members of parliament.
rodzin parlamentarzystów.
The invitation for consultation of the new law was extended to all parliamentary clubs. Two of the opposition clubs, Civic Platform and Civic Coalition, refused to take part.
Chcielibyśmy jasnej deklaracji od pana ministra.
We would like to get a clear answer from Minister Dworczyk as to why the regulation HEAD was not allowed during the current parliamentary term. This instruction precisely describes who might be present on board the aircraft, which is that each person must be a member of the official delegation. What kind of official capacity had Mr. Piotrowicz and MP Żońca, or most peculiarly the sister and the wife of the Speaker of the House?
Pan poseł Żońca.
The airplane should serve in an official capacity for the most important persons in the country and the whole delegation which is traveling. As long as this is to represent the taxpayers of our country, the use of airplanes will be allowed because they were purchased and are maintained with taxpayers' money. Michał Dworczyk stated that the government airplanes will not be allowed to be used to fly home, as was the case many times when Donald Tusk was Prime Minister.
Dotychczasowa praktyka.
The practice of the last few decades was that the three most important people in the country, namely the President, the Prime Minister and the Speaker of the House, used the aircraft to travel to and from home. That was particularly the case when the Prime Minister Donald Tusk traveled frequently between Warsaw and Gdańsk.
Ta praktyka zostaje zlikwidowana.
Parliament will put the proposed new law on the agenda for the first session after the holiday break, which will be on August 30th.
Poland is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the First Silesian Uprising. Poland, which arose from the ashes after the First World War, had to fight over many borders, including the one with Germany in Upper Silesia. Thanks to the bravery and sacrifice of the insurgents, Germany had to accept the fact that Poland had indeed been reborn. President Andrzej Duda and other high-ranking government officials took part in the state celebrations, which were held in Katowice.
During the state ceremonies, President Duda laid a wreath at the graves of the leaders of the uprising and along with the Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak took the oath of the soldiers of the Territorial Defense Force. A memorial plaque was also unveiled, after which the President gave a speech.
To miejsce, Nikiszowiec, to historyczne osiedle.
This place, Nikiszowiec, is a historical district. It is from here that our boys set out to join the uprising, and some fighting took place here as well. But it's also a fact that some soldiers among you live here today too, observed curiously by your neighbors, to whom I send my sincere greetings.
Którzy tutaj żyją, na których dzisiaj patrzą tutaj z okien ich sąsiedzi, którym serdecznie się kłaniam.
The situation at Upper Silesia was peculiar, since the national matters were strictly connected to social and religious issues. On one side, Poles were becoming more radical in their longing for independence and organized protests to express their dissatisfaction. On the other, Germans violently fought the protesters and used economic terror against the Polish nation. According to columnist Tadeusz Purzański, the last straw which broke the camel's back was the massacre in Mysłowice.
Tym momentem zapalnym była
The spark which started it all were the events in Mysłowice, where the Germans massacred Polish factory workers. 10 people were killed. It's similar to what happened during the communist era at the Wujek mine, as pointed out by Prime Minister Morawiecki. First, Polish workers were killed by Germans, and a few decades later, the communists murdered our miners.
Bardzo pięknie połączył te dwa wydarzenia.
The first Silesian uprising was a defeat due to the military advantage of the Germans. After the failed insurgency, around 22,000 Polish soldiers and freedom activists escaped from the region, fearing repercussions from German nationalists. Only after the agreement between both governments from October 1st, 1919, could the Silesian insurgents return home.
This year, the March for Life, which commemorates those who were murdered at the German concentration camp at Auschwitz, took place for the first time in the camp itself. The march was held in a dignified and solemn atmosphere, despite the obstacles put up by the museum management.
Było nawet więcej jak 1,5 tysiąca.
More than 1,500 Polonia representatives and over 2,000 people from Poland took part in the march. Everyone was aware that the march was held during a difficult period. They also knew that it was a huge responsibility, because everyone knew what could happen because of the march. But nothing happened, everyone's fine. There was no controversial behavior. We prayed for every victim, we held flags entering Auschwitz. We visited the Wall of Death, where we lit a candle to commemorate all the victims of this place. We sang the Polish national anthem before we left. The purpose of the march was to make people think about Poland, patriotism and all the things that unite us, that unite all social groups, all the people who have different views and beliefs. We focused not on politics and all the things that are going on, but on what's good. The patron of the march was Saint Maximilian Maria Kolbe.
Ciągle jest mało znana w świecie.
That's the news. Stay with us for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.
Welcome to Poland Daily Weather. In this night, sky will be an overcast in most regions. However, over Białystok, Rzeszów and Kraków, sky will be clear and cloudless. Temperature will range from 11 degrees on the east to 17 degrees in Bydgoszcz and Gdańsk. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Across the country we may expect plenty of sunlight. Light overcast is expected in Szczecin. We will see the highest temperature 24 degrees on the southwest. The minimum 20 degrees will be in eastern Poland. Pressure will fall again. Let's see the forecast for the next days. On Sunday, sunlight will appear in the whole country. Temperature will range from 24 to even 31 degrees in Śląsk. On Monday, rainfall will appear across Poland. Thunderstorms is expected on the southeast. On Tuesday, weather will be very similar. Rainfall will still appear in Poland, but we will see moments when the sun will peek through the clouds. Goodbye and see you soon.
Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight we will talk about the mortgages in French francs. That's an issue that was quite an important slogan during the election back in 2015. Parties promised to about 800,000 people who took these mortgages to solve their situation. The mortgage denominated in French francs, there were no real French francs in the circulation in Poland. Was very dangerous because this value jumped about twice in their value comparing to Polish zlotys, leaving lots of people with mortgages that are twice as expensive as their apartments are. So when they finally will pay those mortgages, there will be no equality, no balance with the value of the real estate purchased this way. 4 years and lots of talks. The question to Jerzy Bielewicz, who is our guest, financial analyst and writer for Gazeta Bankowa. Sir, was this issue solved by the Polish politicians so far?
No, but the owners of those mortgages in Swiss franc are winning in courts. And first of all, I have to paint you a picture. What is this mortgage in French francs? So Americans had their subprime loans. And can you imagine subprime loans not in the US dollar but in Swiss francs? No, you cannot imagine this. It would kind of be obvious for American institutions that it's not good for Americans to get indebted in foreign currencies. But in Poland, in those high days of early 2000s, before the crisis, 2007, 2008, those mortgages were sold, by the way, by foreign banks on the Polish market. So German bank would not sell this product in Germany, but it would push this product in Poland. The same French banks, Italian banks. So we got in trouble, and Polish banking system got into huge troubles because of size of this portfolio of mortgages in Swiss francs. And as you said, the capital of these mortgages became a multiple of underlying value of the apartment of the building, which is crazy. The true situation in some of the banks, balance sheets of the banks was artificial. It was not true.
The profits were great, and that was good for the banks. The issue, as you mentioned, went through the courts, and we are waiting for the verdict of the European Court of Justice on this very issue.
And it's very hard to imagine a verdict that would not be good for owners of those mortgages because of European law. It's kind of would not allow consumers to be put into such a situation. Imagine you buy the apartment and the credit that you have is twice as big as the apartment price.
The main difference between the subprime credits in United States and the French franc mortgages in Poland is that the customers in Poland, they were the financial elite, people who are really well off, who had this free jobs, who had relatively high
I
income.
would say you touch on very sensitive political, I would say, subject, because those who got into those mortgages expected Poland to join Euro area. If you know a little bit about finances, that's what you would do. You would kind of recognize that Poland is going to join European Euro area.
Donald Tusk in 2010, I believe, or 7, promised that by 2011 Poland will join the Euro area.
And it's a well-known secret that those foreign banks who sold those mortgages were euro-based. So those people become hostages of politics. But Poland stick to its own currency, fortunately. And at this point, I would say that justice could be fulfilled, and European Justice Court should bring the verdict which is good for Polish clients of foreign banks.
Yeah, in terms of state policy, it is important to have banks that maintain the strong base and are reliable.
And by the way, we've got a Polish Dr. Doom, Nouriel Roubini, in 2008-07 predicted the financial crisis, and he got this name, Dr. Doom.
Right.
So Polish Dr. Doom is, no surprise, Polish bank associations. This Polish it's not actually Polish because
it means those who operate in Poland. Yes.
Those, yeah, many of them are foreign, and it's a lobbying entity, banking lobbying
and they
entity.
predicted that solving this issue will cripple the banks in Poland.
I think they took a political position because they wrote a letter to Prime Minister and asked Prime Minister to put some influence on European courts so the verdict would be good for banking system. Prime Minister wouldn't do this, and I cannot imagine anybody, even German government, that is very influential, that could change the verdict. Germany, actually, there are two banks on Polish in the Polish banking sector, Deutsche Bank and Commerzbank, and they got very, very heavily into those mortgages in Swiss francs, and they are going to have problems with it.
Well, hopefully this thing will be solved both for banks and for their customers. This practice of mortgages in French francs was stopped in 2008, but the legacy problems are still continuing.
Exactly, and it would be another fiscal impulse in our economy, because instead of paying these mortgages without any result, because French franc is very, very strong currency, if they were switched to Polish zloty, then these Polish clients of foreign banks would have more money for other purposes.
Yeah, because this is very, very heavy toll on the life of average family. Sir, thank you very much for this conversation. Our time's up, unfortunately, but we just scratched the surface of the huge problem in Poland.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Jerzy Bielewicz was our guest tonight, and that was it for Poland Daily Business.
Welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's see the forecast for tomorrow. Across the country we may expect plenty of sunlight. Little rainfall is expected in Szczecin. We will see the highest temperature 24 degrees on the southwest. The minimum 20 degrees will be in eastern Poland. Pressure will fall again. Let's take a look at the forecast for our continent. In Central Europe more sunlight will appear. Temperature will fall and will range from 22 to 26 degrees. Higher temperature we will see in Vienna, 29 degrees. The weather will improve in British Islands. Temperature will increase to 23 degrees in London. Scorching day ahead of residents of Spain. In Madrid we will see even 38 degrees. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and today on Poland Daily Culture we are going to talk about unique cultural and educational undertaking, Polish Debutant Program. We have in studio with us Agnieszka Michalczyk.
Good evening.
And Małgorzata Tomorowicz-Malińska.
A pleasure to be here.
Founder and organizer of the program.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for coming. But before we start, let's watch a short film. We come back to the topic of the Debutant Program. So it finished with the highlights of a great ball here in Warsaw, Debutant Ball. There are legends about such balls. How does it really look like? Is it true there are only aristocrats there and no one else is allowed?
Of course not. That's silly. No, not at all. Our program, as we said, is addressed to young females, 18, 24 years old. So absolutely not at all, not at all. These are wonderful families, wonderful people. People who deal with art, you have the academics also come. Everybody can participate.
So at the end of the program, there's the whole ball, and girls can invite their families and friends.
Yes, exactly.
This is a kind of reward from us to them. Yes, for the charity actions and for this educational part.
So as I understand, I have to perform dances there as well. There's waltz probably, and what else? And how the preparation look like?
We start with our Polish dance, which is Polonaise. So Polonaise is every single year, and then we, of course, we have waltz as well.
But they turn to the right here in Poland.
So they turn on the right. So those who went to Vienna Opernball have actually relearned the waltz.
Yes.
So does every single participant of the program finish the program with ability to dance waltz?
Of course. Yes.
We hope so.
No, we don't hope.
Yes,
We are sure.
So how does program change people? Do they actually transfigurate somehow? Do they come different and they finish different?
I do think so. Yes. It's wonderful to see them turn from sometimes very shy, introverts, people who are really, they're wonderful girls always, from day one, but they change, they blossom, they actually become aware of themselves, they become more assertive, they know what they want to do in life, and what is more important, I know, and we are sure, and you being the initiator of the program, creator of the program, you know that they participate later on in charitable actions, in different charities. They want to do something not only for themselves, but for the society as such. They're socially minded, which is very important.
For us, yes.
So they become more open, socially minded, and they can dance waltz, and you're not afraid of crowds. And they walk straight.
Right, they smile.
Yes. They have, different skills. They know how to communicate with people. They know how to talk to different people, how to present themselves, dress code,
So coming back to the topic of Polish waltz, where does it take? Where is it happen? Actually, in which building? We're in Poland. We're in Warsaw, I guess. And what's the tradition? Are there any rules? Is there any schedule there, which you have to mind, which they have to mind?
Well, it takes place in our favorite building.
Yes, in our favorite building, which is Warsaw Polytechnics. Beautiful building with great history. And we...
So in the hall of
yes, in the hall of the Polytechnic.
The famous one.
Yes, beautiful hall. So we always start with Polish anthem. And then we also have a European anthem. And then the debutant and the boys from Warszawianka, they dance Polonaise.
Okay, so they dance Polonaise
yes,
together?
Yes, and then they stay on the stage, and there is a beautiful show of the costumes prepared by the most talented students of the Warsaw School of Arts. Yes.
So it's a different show.
Yes, it's a show, but it's a different combination of, you might say, it's also choreography, it's music, live music.
Live music, yes.
So it's live music, and the costumes are
beautiful.
So how they are made? There are historical dresses, or is it just
well, it's a combination.
Yeah,
it's a combination of historical dresses. So we have the queens, we also have the dancers, we have everyone.
Yes.
We have the birds. So it's
so it's a part of entertainment.
Yes.
And that's the official part.
Yes.
And then the floor is for debutantes and the guests.
Yes. We end with the waltz.
Absolutely. Yes. And also we have guests from abroad who perform at our ball. We had the wonderful
Anna
Suvorova, who came all the way from Vienna to perform in Warsaw for us, especially.
So how is it actually possible to undertake such event? Because as I understand, girls, so the girls and debutante are freely, and they don't have to finance the program themselves.
They don't have to finance the program, so we have to look for the money.
Yes, not to say fight for it, but it's really, we have to fight for every penny. It doesn't, it's usually based on private donations.
I see. In order to keep this tradition alive in Poland.
Yes.
Okay. So we wish you a lot of luck with it, and we hope this tradition will not die in Poland.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you
Thank
very
you for
much.
having us.
And thank you, our viewers, for watching the Poland Daily Culture.
I'm here today in the Saxon Gardens at the heart of Warsaw. Since 1727, a public garden, one of the first in Europe. But it started life as something more, the garden of a palace built by the first Saxon king of Poland, Augustus II. A member of the Wettin dynasty from Saxony became kings of Poland. Why were they here? What were they doing? Why did they build this palace? And what is more, what is a Saxon axis? An exercise in urban planning. Join me in Poland Daily History today when we find out more. So Peter, we've now come to the Saxon Garden. We're starting our journey at the back of what would have been the colonnade of the old palace. We'll come back to that later. And now we're going to work our way through the garden.
Exactly. So we're going to walk along the main alley of the Saxon Garden, and we're going to see around the remnants of actually the sculptures which were designed along the main alley of the garden. Already at the time of the late reign of August II and early reign of August III, so two Wettins. And they were actually designed, those sculptures, also under the tutelage of the most skillful artist in Warsaw then. And one of them was Plersch, who was responsible for many sculptures that we've seen even on the facade of the Visitation Church next to the main Krakowskie Przedmieście alley.
And originally, I think there were, in its greatest extent, some 70 statues in this part of the garden.
Yes. So there were the main Baroque Rococo palace, and at the back there were 70 statues. 70 statues which used to be the allegories of different sciences, of different god and goddesses, Greek and Roman, and symbols of architecture, of painting, and so on and so on. So to show the whole complexity of culture and mythology and all those contexts.
Right. Okay.
And those 70 sculptures used to be here initially, but after the demolition in 1794, after the war, during the war in the defense of the Constitution of
91,
exactly of 3rd of May, actually some of them were taken to St. Petersburg by Russians.
General Surov, I think.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And about 30 of them, like about 20 something of them, they left here in the garden, and some of them preserved even through the 19th century and even through the Second World War.
So some of these are original?
Yeah. Some of them which were closer to the palace at the back, actually, when the palace was blown up in 1944, they were destroyed.
Right.
But some of them were still standing here, and after the after-war renovation, that came back here. But actually, for many of those sculptures, more dangerous was even the reconstruction works or maintenance works in 19th century, because they covered in a color oil paint, and it's crumbled beneath.
Yes, it's not good. Our masonry has to be left to breathe.
Exactly, exactly. But so some of them needs to be redone after they were quite hard. Yeah. But some of them stayed almost untouched, and one of the best preserved is actually Flora that you can see here. So the symbol of blossoming, of course, and a spring mythological sign.
This is one of the very original ones.
Very original one, probably even under the tutelage of Prerish workshop, at least. Yeah, and you can see something which is very characteristic for this Rococo style. So you have this, of course, the statue, which is still more in a Baroque style, in this very dynamic pose. But you have this Rococo cloth, which is very angular. Yeah? And sometimes I even have an impression that if you take out those clothes, it can begin even separately, kind of separate sculptures, you know, more like, more maybe...
Well, that's interesting, a sort of mixture of styles.
Yeah, yeah.
And would it have been in this position, or is that just too much to hope for? And is this the position of which that's that? Or is that actually?
We can say for sure they were replaced later on. Yes, so so actually most of those sculptures were in around 1950, after World War II, when they were organizing the garden again. They placed it in a different positions, and they are placed now kind of randomly. So it's not showing the original plan of Poppelman and Neumann, so two main architects.
But it's marvelous that some of them actually survived. That these are the original. We can see it, as Augustus II might have seen it as well. I mean, that's actually, and I mentioned it quite a lot on these programs. But this idea of living history, this idea of walking the footsteps or seeing or touching something which these characters from history themselves saw, is, I think, a remarkable way of realizing that really history is a continuum. It either sort of never stops. We're part of it all the time. And this is, I think, something which makes you stop and think that your place in the world is, you're part of history as well. You don't have to be a king or a queen to be part of it. It's fantastic. We're just walking now past this marvelous fountain by Marconi, 19th century.
19th century, mid-19th century, actually 1850s, 1855, when it was opened and designed by Henryk Marconi, so one of the best architects of the mid-19th century in Warsaw, whose roots were in Warsaw, but it became Warsaw, like in Italy, of course, but it became Warsaw family later on, and it was designed here and opened here when the water pipe systems designed by Marconi was actually built in the middle of the city.
It's a splendid. There's something about the movement of water, which is just very relaxing, particularly on a hot day in a park. And these fountains are splendid. Really, it brings life to the place. I think it's the grandest fountain we have in Warsaw. I can't think of a better one.
Yeah, actually it is shown even on the many photographs from 19th century. Usually the palace was photographed from the back, from the garden side, with the people which were walking around, because it was always a public garden, almost
of course,
from the scratch.
1727, yeah.
And so it was one of the favorite gardens to the people of Warsaw to walk through and to enjoy also. So we have those people with the 19th century clothes, the fountain and its back, and the huge columnade of the 19th century shape of the main palace. And by the way, this solar clock is also is also original disc from 19th century. It's also tracing back to the 1860s. Yeah, it was founded by one of the most famous historians of Warsaw, actually, Magyar, whose name was Magyar. Actually, you can see his name
is carved,
even here. Yeah.
1863. Yeah.
Just in front of the main fountain. So it's kind of redevelopment of the garden in 19th century. Because we need to remember that actually original garden, which used to be in the Saxon times, wasn't the garden that looked like nowadays, like with trees. No. But we have only the parterres of floral
these very
ornamentation.
elaborate flower beds. Very typically, you see a lot in French chateaux.
French Italian.
Never. I don't think it really ever caught on very much in British architecture, but certainly very classic French, very elaborate.
Yeah.
Not much of it left today, of course. There's a little bit behind the other side of the fountain to give us an idea of what it might have looked like. But then, of course, we now have what would be a slight reproduction of that more 19th century, that more natural parkland type setting, a slightly
landscape
wild.
park.
Yeah, slightly you let nature sort of design its own landscape to a certain extent.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Poland Daily Travel. We've got a splendid series of programs for you, so just sit back and enjoy the ride as we take you on a magical mystery tour through the Campinos National Forest on the outskirts of beautiful downtown Warsaw. Campinos National Park was established in 1959 to protect the unique complex of inland dunes and wetlands, the natural plant communities, and the rich fauna, that's animals, and numerous monuments of Polish history and culture. And indeed, there are some pretty substantial dunes, as you will see. So stay tuned, you won't want to miss that. And did you know that Campinos National Forest, which is a UNESCO biosphere, is twinned with the Indiana Dunes National Park in the United States? The park covers an area of about 40,000 hectares. And in the park you will find a moose, a lynx, lots of owls, plenty of deer, and even a bear. Just kidding about the bear. And no wolves either, unfortunately. More than 73% of the park is covered with forests. It's a wildlife sanctuary with over 200 species of birds. There are swamps and forests and dunes and beavers and otters, to name a few more animals, along with pine martens, foxes, polecats, and as we said, lynx. And indeed, you might see a wolf. Campinos, the lungs of Warsaw, 40,000 hectares of wilderness on the northwest frontier of Warsaw. It has history, it has beauty, it has mystery. So you won't want to miss this series of exciting episodes from the Campinos National Forest. It was a lot of fun doing it, and I'm sure you're going to really enjoy it. On Poland Daily Travel, your favorite source for travel information about Poland and the best travel programming about Poland that has ever been attempted that has ever been done and that you've ever seen. Stay with us. Poland Daily Travel. Why do we do it? We do it for you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting installment. I'm here with Mariusz, and we're talking about this barn, this beautifully reconstructed barn. Okay, co jeszcze w ogóle informacje o tego miejsca?
Stodoła to jest takie
Stodoła
to jest takie miejsce, w którym głównie przechowywano płody rolne w postaci takich snopków. Ewentualnie słoma przywieziona z pola już sprasowana.
Storing the wheat that's ready to be put into these machines, storing the hay bales from the fields that were already from the refuse in the field.
A także siano przywożone z łąk. Także w części stodoły trzymano słom, a w drugiej części siano dla zwierząt.
Okay, and the other side is so this is the part storing the food for people and for the animals, and the other side is for the animals. Yes?
I jeżeli już ta słoma i siano zostały zużyte dla zwierząt, zrobiło się tutaj trochę więcej miejsca, no to przetrzymywano różne maszyny rolnicze, żeby nie stały na dworze i nie psuły się, nie rdzewiały.
If it's not too busy, then you bring your machines in, depending on how big your barn is. To jest duże miejsce, tak?
Dokładnie,
to
tak.
Jest duże. This is a big example of a barn from 100 years ago. Very well built.
Tyle, że nie można było wjechać traktorem, ciągnikiem, no bo wtedy mogło się słoma czy siano zapalić. Także tutaj raczej były urządzenia, maszyny, które nie wytwarzały jakieś iskry, tak?
Okay, and so this was a place where you could store things. You had to be careful that nothing got started on fire, and etc. In this way. Yes.
Jak zużyto jeszcze więcej słomy i siana gdzieś tak latem przed żniwami, robiło się tutaj więcej miejsca. No i wtedy ludzie, ponieważ to była stodoła bogatego gospodarza, były deski tutaj, to można było zorganizować tutaj tańce.
Impreza. Okay.
Impreza.
Also, this is a place to have parties, and impreza in Polish is a party. It's a very important word. There are two really important words in Polish besides please and thank you, proszę and dziękuję, and those are impreza, which means party, and piwo, which means beer. These are very important words. Exactly. So they would give big parties in these barns as well, because it was a place for enjoyment as well as a place for work, as we said, I think before. Yeah. What is this big? Tutaj mamy zdjęć. We have a photograph here. Co to jest? What is this? Is this my favorite animal? To jest moje ulubione zwierząt.
Łosoś, tak?
Łosoś, tak. It's a moose.
Łoś, moose.
Finally, we found a moose. It's not a real one, but it's a nice picture.
To jest najwyższe zwierzę Kampinoskiego Parku Narodowego i herb Kampinoskiego Parku Narodowego. Na tym zdjęciu jest naturalnej wielkości, więc możemy się przymierzyć tutaj do tego łosia.
So we can stand here and see. Okay, what he's saying, Mariusz is saying, is that this animal is the emblem of the park, as we saw previously when we saw the sign with the big wooden carving. And also, it is the largest animal in the park. And this is real size. To jest prawdziwy.
Naturalna wielkość. Tak.
It's a natural height and size.
Polskie łosie, europejskie łosie mają 2 metry 20 centymetrów. Kanadyjskie 2 metry 30 centymetrów.
Yes, bigger.
Jeszcze większe są kanadyjskie.
One mają takie duże.
Tak.
No. They have big antlers. The Canadians, he says, They're quite a bit bigger, almost, I would say, a half a foot bigger. Ile centymetrów powiedziałeś? Tutaj w Kanadzie?
Europejskie 2 metry i 20 centymetrów.
Okay,
Czyli 220 centymetrów.
Okay.
230 centymetrów kanadyjskie.
Okay, they're trochę większe w Kanadzie.
10 centymetrów.
Only 4 inches, so it's not that much. This is a big animal. One są blisko do nas?
Nie.
Łoś. One są blisko tutaj?
Że tak, że można
Pan widział dzisiaj, kiedy spacerował
Dzisiaj
do
nie,
pracy?
ale wczoraj.
No,
wczoraj rano.
He saw one yesterday morning, but not today, because we met him. He was walking along happily down the forest path, and then we interrupted his day. But I think, it's been a nice interruption.
Mniej więcej co drugi dzień widzę,
Yeah.
tak.
So every couple of days, he sees one of these beautiful animals. One są miłe, czy co? One są, musisz być ostrożny?
W stosunku do dzikich zwierząt zawsze trzeba zachować ostrożność. Łosie są dosyć ciekawe, także zawsze zatrzymują się, obserwują. One nie mają dobrego wzroku, więc po prostu patrzą, co się dzieje. Ale mogą się znaleźć takie łosie, które przyzwyczaiły się do widoku człowieka. I najgorsze są samice. To jest samica, nie ma poroża na
it doesn't
głowie.
have antlers. Okay, wait a second. Moment. Muszę
Które
tłumaczyć.
mają młode, tak?
No, muszę tłumaczyć.
Okay.
He says that you always have to be careful around any wild animal, of course, but he would say that. He is a ranger. But on the other hand, they're also a bit careful around us. They're careful when they see people. He says the worst ones are if they have antlers, because they could harm you. Yes, and?
I takie samice, które mają młode, to są łoszaki.
The young one, of course.
Mogą uznać, że człowiek za blisko podchodzi do jej dziecka i wtedy może zaatakować człowieka i kopie.
Okay, so if you go, this is also a problem. If you go near the young one of the young moose, then it may kick you because they're very territorial in protecting them. At any rate, that is finally something about a moose. Look at this. Come on, Mariusz. Now, Mariusz and I are dwarfed by a moose, and even the small one is tall. So this is a big animal, bigger than a horse. To jest większy niż koń.
Większy od konia.
Wiele razy
Większy, tak.
No, jeszcze pół.
Tak.
About even a half again as big as a horse. Big animal. He saw one yesterday, but not today. Maybe we'll get lucky. Stay with us. More of Poland Daily Travel from beautiful Campinos Forest.